Hello and welcome to the Trekitt podcast, where we talk about everything outdoor related, from kit and locations to stories and the people behind them. Whether you're a walker, climber, mountaineer or just someone that loves being outside, you can find all the kit and advice for your next adventure on our website, which is www.trekit.co.uk. Or you can actually come and speak to a real person right here in our service centre in Hereford. Well, good morning, viewers, listeners, whoever you are out there, and welcome to another episode in the Trekitt podcast series. This morning, I am joined by Harry, as usual, manning the equipment. Fanar, as an old Viz joke for you. And also with Lucy and with Ben, who were looking bemused at my Viz joke reference. So Ben wasn't. I think you got that, didn't you, Ben?
Unfortunately, I did get the reference.
Yeah, you did get that one, yeah. I thought they might have been a bit young, but obviously not. Ben's just a bit retro. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. So yeah, we've got Lucy and we have Ben from Trekitt, indeed, our own, very own people in the podcast room. And Ben and Lucy have recently completed the Fjallraven Classic, and today they're going to tell us all about it, aren't you?
We sure are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nodding doesn't suffice, Ben. I mean, you have to speak. It's a podcast.
Sorry.
I know Harry's filming as well,
that.
but you do have to speak.
Yes.
So, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the Fjallraven Classic and what it's all about, Alfie, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourselves, who you are, what you do? I don't know, what the inside trouser measurement is. I don't know, whatever you want to tell us. Lucy, go on, you go first.
So I've worked for Trekitt since the start of the year. I'm a content marketing assistant. Love adventure, love getting out my bike, love seeing the mountains, just love being outdoors really. And this was my first multi-day hike ever. Cool. So it was, something I definitely couldn't say no to. And yeah, that's me really.
Right. What was your job title again?
Content marketing assistant.
Content marketing
so
assistant.
I look after socials, I write blogs and help with emails as well.
Right. So I think some of our listeners, I'll have to stop saying, can I say viewers as well, Harry? Yeah, he's nodding. Yeah, I can say viewers.
So Harry can nod, but I can't. All right.
Yeah, well, Harry hasn't got a microphone, Ben. And you don't listen to Harry. He's got nothing very interesting to say anyway.
Aww.
So some of our viewers, listeners, will be aware of you, Lucy, won't they? Because you've been on.
That's right.
We did one about, we gave some socks away, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right.
At the bottom of Pen y Fan.
Yep, darn tough.
Yeah, darn tough.
Yeah.
Cool socks. Right. Lovely. Ben.
Yeah.
Who are you, Ben?
Who are me?
Who are you?
So I'm the current retail store manager for Trekitt. Been with the business for over 4.5 years now. I know.
Wow, that long.
Feels like a long time.
It does.
Outside of work, I enjoy climbing, bouldering, mountain biking. We actually went for a mountain bike ride the other day, which was very nice, down at the Forest of Dean.
We did.
And beyond that, I'm just a fan of the outdoors, like getting outside. But some of you may be aware of me either if you visited the Trekitt shop in Hereford, because I've been around here for a little while, but you've also probably seen me on our YouTube channel. I don't think we've ever actually done a video together though, have we, Paul?
No, Ben, we haven't. That must be addressed.
It must be. It must be at some point.
Yeah.
Just to prove that we actually know each other.
That we exist in the same universe.
Yeah. I'm not going to say my inside leg measurements or anything like that because that's already out there.
It's on the video.
Yeah, it's already on the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have a little bit of a presence outside of the shop in some of the marketing content. So in the videos, you'll probably see my face plus on the website. You're probably rather bored of it at this point, but I am the moustache owner of the business currently. So I tend to get plastered about the place a little bit.
Yeah, and what a mighty fine moustache it is too, Ben.
I was just thinking.
Yeah, it is. You should be. Yeah, you will never ever be allowed to shave that off whilst you are in employment of Trekitt.
No, I've been told this.
Yeah, is it in your contract?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was in the new contract that I signed. Yeah,
is it in the small print right down the bottom? Yeah. Must not. Anyway,
yeah, there was just a handwritten drawing at the bottom. Of just some curls and just a big cross next to it.
Must stay in with moustache. Right. Okay. Not sure whether Harry's gesticulating at me to stop waffling or what. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, we'll just ignore him, shall we?
I think we should.
I think we should. Yeah. Okay. So before we dive into the kind of the overall experience and your own personal kind of recollections and memories of the Fjallraven Classic, am I saying that right? Is it Fjallraven? We get asked this a lot, don't we?
We do get asked this a lot, and We usually go for Fjallraven,
Okay.
but we're still not entirely sure that's right.
Okay.
Because
Potato.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anyone
okay.
that we've asked,
Yeah.
we get slightly different interpretations of it, and anyone that's Swedish will usually pick us up on the pronunciation a little bit more.
Yeah.
But anyone from the UK side of the team's a little bit more relaxed about
Yeah,
it.
okay, that's cool then. So
Yeah.
we can be relaxed about it too.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
so.
that's fine. So what is it?
So what is it? The
What is
classic?
it? What is it? What is the Fjallraven Classic? I'm not going to say it every time. I'm just going to choose one.
Just
Yeah.
we could just say the classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is-
Go on, Lucy.
just
What,
that bit.
what is it? What is the Fjallraven Classic?
So the Swedish one is 110 kilometres. It's the longest classic that Fjallraven do. And it's a sense of reconnecting with nature. And how do I explain it? Sort of like taking in, like changing landscapes,
Okay.
wild camping. You know, you are sort of going back to basics and looking after yourself.
Right.
But also taking in the local culture of what you may be doing, because they not only do Sweden, they also do Korea, USA, the UK was this year.
First time this year.
Yeah, first time. So I think it's a sense of local culture and reconnecting with nature,
Right.
and as well as using kit and camping and
Yeah.
just sort of the mixture, really.
So it's a way of getting people outdoors
Yeah.
to really experience what it is truly like to be outdoors and be self-sufficient.
Yep.
Over how many days is it?
So we did Sweden in 6 days. So
Wow.
you can do it slightly shorter. But we averaged about, the first 2 days was 20 kilometres, the third was 23, and then we lowered off from there, and I think it was about 17.
Yeah, it was
the last
around that. It was the
3.
high teens for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Because we just wanted to enjoy the experience a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, you can just absolutely stomp through it, and there were people that did it in 3 days, 4 days, just tanking through with all of their kit. But part of the whole experience is about enjoying it and enjoying the experience, connecting with other people that you might not otherwise have met or known.
Yeah.
Because it's an event that people from all over the world now come and participate in. It's not just a bunch of Swedes doing the Swedish Classic.
Doing their thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were admittedly a lot of them there, but there were people from the UK, people from Korea, people from the States, all other parts of Europe, all over the world, people coming to complete this event. So it's really a melting pot of culture. So why not take a little bit longer and enjoy it?
Yeah, enjoy it. Actually talk to people rather than just
Definitely.
Yeah.
slog it through. So it's open to anybody. Yeah? Anybody can apply.
Yeah, the diversity.
Oh, Ben.
This is terrible. This is really
Ben's
terrible.
phone's going off.
It is. And it's not even a phone call because I turned it off. That was an alarm.
Was it time to get up?
Yeah.
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 Normal.
Sat down for
Podcast
too long.
Normal
time.
work day.
Yeah.
Time to get out of bed. Yeah. 11:15.
Yeah.
Get out of bed, Ben. Anyway, sorry, we digress. Thanks to Ben's phone.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's open to anybody. Anybody can apply.
Yep, the diversity was amazing. It was quite impressive, really. I couldn't believe sort of like how many people there were from all over the world taking part.
So how many were there? Do you know? Total?
In total, for the Swedish Classic, there was, I think it was like 1,900.
It was around 1,900
Yeah,
people.
Wow.
1,900,
Right.
yeah.
And how do you apply?
You can buy tickets, so
Right.
it's just a case of
First come,
Fjallraven
first served.
Classic, yeah, and you can
Off
just
the
buy
website.
a ticket. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only the polar experience that you have to apply. You have to like put an application form in to say, I'm going to take part because,
I promise not to get
yeah.
really badly
Yeah.
lost and cold and
Yeah.
maybe have to call emergency services.
Yeah.
out. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. But the rest of them you can just buy tickets for.
Wow. So who knew?
Yeah.
It's not massively advertised and marketed, is it?
No.
Or is
No.
it? It's only through my connections through Trekitt that I'm kind of vaguely aware of it. But you know, who would, you know, it's Joe Blogg in the street. How would they know it existed?
To me, I don't know if it's just more like brand loyalty. So,
Right.
you know, Fjallraven is, the quality of it is up there.
Yeah.
And I think people who buy into it then like hear about it and must
Okay.
know. And
Yeah.
like newsletters, that's my experience, or through socials, just to know word of mouth. Other than that, I'm not really sure.
Okay. Cool.
I think ultimately
Yeah.
they don't want to make the event too big.
Yeah.
You know, that it sounds a little bit strange, but they're obviously trying to promote the event, but they don't want thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people coming through, because it
Yeah.
is still ultimately about that connection to nature,
Yeah.
and it's part of the whole leave no trace. So if suddenly it's opened up to 5,000 people, 10,000 people, because
Yeah.
there's definitely that number of people who will want to do it, they're then going to trash the environment just
Yeah.
from all physically going across the same paths, the same routes at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's trying to maintain the scale of an event that is fun, and there's a lot of people, and still 1,900 people is an awful lot of people in a different environment. But they're trying to maintain that relationship with nature where they're not doing too much damage.
Yeah, it's always a balance, isn't it? I guess for
Absolutely.
them, they want to get people out there. They want people to enjoy nature. They want them to experience using good kit and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, is that damaging for the environment? So yeah, limiting numbers is it makes sense.
I know 2,000 is the limit
Right.
for the Swedish Classic. They're not planning to take on any more,
Right.
and they've been running it since 2005.
Okay.
So they
Yeah.
must be, the marketing, they must be doing something
Yeah,
right.
they must be doing something right.
Yeah.
If it happens every year and they're fully subscribed and
Yeah.
yeah, good for them. Okay, so because I guess Trekitt is a bit of a kit shop, isn't it? And we're all sort of kit geeks to a certain extent. Do you want to talk us through what you took? I'm sure people would be interested to hear how you kind of not survived. I guess you survived. You survived. It wasn't that
came out
extreme. It wasn't that extreme, was it?
No,
No.
it wasn't. It was honestly, apart from the last day where we had some rain. We had a lot of rain on the last day.
Yeah.
Constant downpour. Apart from that, the conditions were actually just about ideal. They were in the low teens a lot of the time, so actually ideal conditions for
perfect.
trekking with a pack, because you're building up a little bit of body heat because you're carrying everything with you. And generally sort of overcast. We had a few days that were a bit sunnier, but the conditions were absolutely prime apart from the last day. But by that point we were already heading for the finish, and we knew we had a warm, dry place to go to. So you kind of just got a bit salty.
I don't care really, do you?
You don't care
get
at
wet.
that
I don't
point.
mind if I get wet. Yeah.
No, but the conditions underfoot were generally fairly easygoing. It was all well-defined trails. There were sections of sort of rock gardens, and there were large sections where they were boarded out to try and cut down on the impact. So you're walking along lots of wooden planks essentially. But a lot of the time underfoot it was either rocky or sort of slightly softer with mud, and all the streams and everything just cutting straight across the path. So a good set of boots was very useful.
Essential, I'd say.
It was very much essential. But apart from that, a lot of the kit was generally very walking focused, because you didn't need anything technical,
Right.
Unless you wanted to go and potentially do Kebnekaise, because you could on the second day go up and climb Sweden's tallest mountain,
Okay.
which you could do without any kit, but ideally even a set of microspikes or something like that would have been useful to go and do that. And some members of our group did decide to go and do it. They managed it without.
Right.
But when they got back down, they're like, it was a little bit slippy. So potentially at that point, a few technical bits of kit might have been a bit useful.
Okay.
Yeah. It had snowed the night before, just to paint the picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how high is that? Do you know?
It's the equivalent to Ben Nevis.
Okay.
Like
just over
walking
4,000
wise.
feet in old money.
I don't know how high it is off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I had
it's
the
not
pass come to my head.
it's not huge,
It's not huge, but it's high
No.
enough
but it's high enough.
to get a bit of frosty on the
You're
top.
adding an extra
Yeah.
20 kilometres onto your 110 already.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It did make the route a little bit spicier if you
Yeah. yeah.
For sure.
Just nip up the top of that mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, on your death. Okay, so let's go back to kit. We just talked about techie kit. What did you pack? Could you pack whatever you wanted? Could you take your teddy and
Okay.
or
Yeah. So there was a mandatory list that you had to take. So prior to the event, you're given a list to what you're suggested. So they suggest a 65 litre pack, which I did take a 65. I think you took a
I took a 50.
50. Yeah.
sensible?
Yeah, I think you didn't need to have 65. You could have gone less. In terms of kit, I was aiming for lightweight.
Right.
So my tent was a Nordisk Telemark 1 lightweight. So that was 900 grams.
Yeah, they're light.
Yeah. What else? Shoes, I had the Mindel Antileo GTX. So they were quite solid boots to have.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of the kit now.
Stove,
we have
yeah.
a Primus Light stove, which we
Light
shared.
Plus.
Light Plus, sorry, thank you. Which we were allowed to share. So there's certain things that you're allowed to share during the classic. So a stove is one, a compass is another, and I think that was it. Map.
You could share a first aid kit as well,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and map, but most of the kit you had to have your own if it was on the mandatory kit list.
Yep.
beyond that, you could take whatever you wanted.
Right.
You know, so if you did want to take that teddy, you could.
Yeah.
We didn't.
You didn't?
We didn't, no.
Oh, Ben.
No.
You
Little
left
Bun
your
stayed at
A little
home.
like comfort.
Yeah. Yeah, I got by without him.
So you can't like strip your kit right down to like the absolute bare minimum for survival.
No, you get penalties for it. You have to take mandatory kit. I think it's a case of like, if you need to be in survival mode, you've got everything there to look after yourself. Like, I don't know if you don't have it, what happens? I don't know if you're not allowed to take part.
So they were running random spot checks on kit to make sure you had at least all of the mandatory kit that was required. And if you didn't have it, I don't know whether they actually acted on this, because we didn't get stopped and checked.
Right, yeah.
We took all the kit, you know, we were
You were good.
We were good.
You were good.
But there was the potential that you wouldn't be allowed to compete, or there was a shop at the start line that had all of the mandatory kit. So if you didn't have something, you had the opportunity to buy it so you could take part. But they did also introduce a new category that started a little bit later than the main event, of people that were looking to sort of run it as an ultra. And they had a different kit list because they had a few people that were doing it a few years ago that were just not taking mandatory kit, and they didn't really like people doing that because of the risk involved. Because they were still officially under the main classic, but then they did introduce that new sort of fast hiking running category for it, where the kit list dropped a lot of the heavier essentials down from a tent to a bivvy, things like that.
Okay.
And there was was it a 10-hour penalty if you didn't have some of that mandatory kit added to your time? So obviously people are trying to do it in sort of the fastest known time. So it's within your interest to carry that extra 300 gram bivvy, whatever you're taking, rather than having an extra 10 hours added on to your official time, because that would definitely make or break you for actually getting the fastest time with it.
There was a lady we met at the airport. What day? We landed Thursday and we started Friday, and she had a flight back Monday. So she was determined to try and do the 110 kilometres in 3 days.
Fair enough. Respect. Do you know if she did it?
She did. She did.
Wow.
Yeah, she managed it and got back on her flight. How she managed it, we're not quite sure, because she was still carrying full kit. So she was having to, and she was also carrying quite heavy kit for some of it. I think she had close to 20 kilos on her back. Ooh. So she was having to move at quite a pace over those 3 days to... So
110 kilometres in 3 days.
Yeah. And there was a delay.
That's over 30 a day. 30... What is that?
That's 90, so...
I don't know, my maths is hopeless.
It'd be about 37.
Yeah, 37.
36 and a half, 37.
Somebody will comment.
She probably had to... Well, on our first day, the Kebnekaise mountain station got shut. So that was the first checkpoint, and it got closed because of bad weather ahead that they weren't allowing people to go through.
Right.
So
they were holding people at that checkpoint.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I imagine her days got divided. Yeah.
Wow. So you've used the word, competitors and people compete. Has it got a competitive kind of feel about it? Is it a competitive atmosphere? Do you feel under pressure to crack on and get it done, or is it quite a chilled, relaxed kind of event?
I would personally go chilled. Like, if you want to go fast, you can go fast.
Yeah, you crack on.
Yeah, you can keep going. But I was quite happy. Well, I think as we were quite happy not getting... Well, there were penalties as well saying that. So if you rushed to get to the end, you actually had to pay for the campsite by arriving early.
Okay.
So I think it was better sort of just to take your time.
So what's the time limit on the event? It's 110 kilometres over how many days? What's the maximum number of days?
So the event...
I think it was Friday that it closed.
The event closed the following Friday, so it was a week-long time, but the checkpoints then closed in sequence.
Yeah.
Right. So the first checkpoint closed, then the second, third.
Right. So you've got to get to the checkpoints before they close.
You've got to get to the checkpoints before they close to get your stamp in your Trekitt passport to prove that you've been through. Because if you don't then get a stamp from that one, when you get to the next checkpoint, they will refuse because you haven't done the previous one.
Yeah, understand. Yeah.
But roughly, I think the event was spaced out over 10 days total.
Oh, right.
So
that's very chilled, isn't it?
You could start later. Mm-hmm. So not everyone started on the first day of kickoff. So you could start on a Saturday, a Sunday, a Monday.
Okay.
and then it staggered the start, so you never had all of those 1,900 people.
Okay, I got
It wasn't a mass start.
Wasn't a
Yeah.
mass start. Yeah, so it's a 10-day period,
Yep.
but you can start that wherever you want within those 10 days. And if you want to take 3 days, you can take 3 days
Yep.
or whatever. Yeah,
That's
okay.
right.
So yeah, you could just literally just bimble along, couldn't you?
You could.
Stop and have a picnic every 100 yards.
Yeah.
If you're carrying that much food.
Yeah.
Which I guess you were carrying food.
We were carrying food. They provided dehydrated meals, and there were just big boxes of meals that you could pick out your own selections from. It was all real Termat dehydrated meals,
Nice.
which generally were very nice.
Mm.
And it was your choice as to how many of those you picked up at the first checkpoint, because the next food stop was a few checkpoints further down.
Right.
So you had to carry enough food to get yourself to that checkpoint. But beyond that, you could carry as many or as few meals as you wanted to get there.
Yeah, yeah.
So some people just stocked up right at the start and took all of their meals for the entire trip, which was an interesting move.
Yeah.
You know, let's make the bag really heavy at the start.
Yeah,
Some people took the bare minimum, so they took sort of 2 meals because they were planning on getting to that next checkpoint in time to grab some more food there at a restock point.
Yeah.
But a lot of us took about 2 or 3 days worth of food just in case. You know, if you end up getting a little bit hungry, you've got a spare meal that you can then bulk up. If you don't end up using it, then you just take on less food at the next checkpoint.
Makes sense. So you've got a route plan. You've got an overall plan of the route, yeah?
Yeah.
And you know exactly distances between checkpoints, when the checkpoint's going to close, so when you need to get there by, and which of those checkpoints have got food.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and what about water? What did you do with? Obviously, it's quite a wet country, so I guess in water wasn't really an issue.
Water wasn't an issue at all. Essentially, any water that we drank, we didn't actually filter.
Right.
No.
Because the water over there was so clean and it's all generally fast flowing. So as long as you take water from upstream of any paths to avoid any contamination from boots stepping in the water, and check that there's obviously no animals about. Mostly reindeer
Right.
up around there, funnily
Looks like
enough.
reindeer, yeah.
Yeah. But just filling up water bottles as we go from streams and
Nice.
fast flowing water sources, which was actually really
Yeah.
refreshing to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I did take a water filter with me just in case we ended up in a location where didn't feel as confident about water at all. But that stayed in my pack and was never used. That was a sort of an in case of emergency.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, water was literally just stopping wherever you please because the water was everywhere up there.
Yeah, it's a pretty temperate country. It's pretty wet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was, I'd say, refreshing, both literally and metaphorically.
Absolutely. It was also
Yeah.
incredibly freeing just to be able to think,
To
Yeah.
do it.
I don't have to carry 2 litres of water with me in case.
Yep.
You can just fill
You're
up and
always
go.
going to come across a stream at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, lovely. How nice. That's an old school backpacking.
Very old
isn't
school.
it?
Yeah.
But it was nice
It's
to be able
really
to do that.
nice.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would agree.
So, you're both young, virile, fit people. Did you have to do a lot of training? Well, I say you. I meant Lucy. Ben, obviously, you're not. You've got the burden of that moustache to drag along with you. So it's, you know, I mean, I think we're getting quite a good picture, aren't we? It's not necessarily a racing snake event, but it could be if you want it to be. You could just bimble along. So your average hill walker who goes out at the weekend, does a bit of hiking, they'd be perfectly well prepared physically
absolutely.
to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very open event to the point where there were people of all body shapes and sizes doing it with different fitness levels.
Yep.
There were even a few toddlers doing the event. You know, there were.
They didn't have to carry a
Those
65-litre
dogs.
rucksack,
No,
did they?
no, they didn't. Generally, it was the parents that carried
Oh, right, okay.
the 65-litre packs, and
So
also
they
sometimes
cheated?
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they wouldn't get a completion time.
Okay.
But there were parents, like whole families, doing the event with some quite young children.
Yeah.
How much the kids actually walked off the route, but it's all accessible enough that anyone that can stand upright and go for a long walk on a single day would be absolutely fine doing the entire event.
Wow. You said at the beginning, Lisa, this was your first kind of multi-day
Yeah,
event.
that's right.
How did you find the experience in terms of kind of the fitness and?
It was
Just-
good. It was hard work, like I won't lie.
Yeah.
But I think, well, I literally knew this 4 weeks prior. Like
right.
Jacob was meant to be walking, but he had to take a step back, unfortunately. And I had a phone call from Dave like ringing me to say, do I want to take part? And I was, when you have that up over the phone, you're kind of like, I can't say no to this.
No.
This is amazing. And I was like literally pinching myself the whole time. So in terms of like preparing, I don't think I was that prepared, but I was getting like a lot of hints and tips off Steve and Lorna, and like in terms of kit, like our packs, mine weighed 16 and yours was 17, so it wasn't like too heavy. It was more feet at the end of the day, so I always like gave my feet a bit of like a massage time, like out of socks. I bought Crocs, they were like the best thing ever.
Oh, I love Crocs.
So yeah, it was good. I've done long hikes before, but I've never done hiking, camping type things. So it was just a complete refreshing experience for me, just to reconnect with nature and just to like notice little things as well as you went along the way and just take it all in, really.
Well, just to slow down, I guess. Just to slow down and like I say, if you're not one of those racing snake people who are trying to smash a time, and you are taking your time over it, it's just lovely just to spend a number of days, just moving slowly through nature.
And it kept changing the whole time. I would never say there was 2 days the same. It was it just constantly kept changing through the walk, and obviously you've got weather on top, and it was amazing. It was really good.
So where would you compare in the UK in terms of kind of landscape? What's it like? Is it like kind of North Wales? Is it like the Lake District? What's it like?
It would honestly probably be a bit of a combination. Certain parts would have very much been, you'd feel at home in North Wales there, especially in sort of some of the boulder fields and slightly rockier environments. Mm-hmm. But then around the next bend, it would then turn back into the Lake District or sort of further up into Scotland, into the Highlands. It was probably overall closest feel to Scotland for the most part, but there were definitely elements of a lot of the UK over there in terms of similar environments. It was just the overall scale felt a little bit bigger, a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because over here, unless you're sort of up in the Scottish Highlands, you're never that far away from a road, or you're never that far away from civilization of some sort. Whereas on this trip, after the first day, you lost phone signal and you didn't get phone signal back until the final day, a few K before the finish. And apart from the mountain station and some of the sort of huts along the route, like trekking huts, a little bit like our youth hostels over here, similar sort of thing, but honestly done better over there. They just do it very well. There was just no buildings, nothing. It was just completely open. It was true wilderness, which was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But you didn't feel intimidated by that at all?
Not at all.
No?
I actually found coming back, I had prepared mentally for going, more like, right, we're going on this trip. And then my phone threw a wobbly just before we left, so I had a purple screen, and it just went into, and I just put it away and was like, I'll deal with it when I come back. But it was more going from, you're constantly in nature, being in the mountains, like for the day and into night, and then coming back to them being around screens and everything. I found that quite
intrusive.
I hadn't
noisy.
prepared for that. I was a bit like, oh, hang on a minute, and then sort of coming back, it kind of felt like all one big dream, like as if it hadn't happened. And then sounds like an incredible experience. Absolutely amazing. I'm very jealous.
It really was.
It really was.
How come I never got to do this? I used to own the company. How come I never got to go?
And
Ben?
No,
you can buy a ticket.
Oh yeah. I can. Thanks, Lucy. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That was me trying to blag my way in for years, and all I had to do was buy a ticket. So, I think we pretty much covered the event. I mean, it's. I guess you flew over there, got a plane, got a taxi, met up, did the walk. Got a taxi, got a plane, came home, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was pretty much it,
Yeah. Okay, right.
Yeah, nothing else went on.
Nothing else went on, really.
No, drove to the airport, flew there.
Did you have a night before you started the event?
Yes. Yeah, so we flew from Heathrow. So we drove down the night before there, flew from Heathrow, where we met up with all the other people that were going as part of the Phoenix Fjallraven UK team. I suppose would be the best way to play it.
So there's kind of like an RV at Heathrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was it 12 of us total?
Yep.
12 total, some from Phoenix, UK, and then a bunch of other retailers along with myself and Lucy, and a few friends of Fjallraven who are, they don't like us calling them this, but essentially they're sort of influencers, they're sort of social media personalities that put out content that's a little bit more specific to Fjallraven.
Again, I just refer to my earlier question, why wasn't I invited?
Anyway.
Glossing over that.
We'll send some emails afterwards and find
Thanks,
out.
Ben.
We'll get you on for next year. So we met up with everyone there. Some of them we'd met previously and we knew. Others were completely new to us. But after that point, we flew over to Stockholm, had a short layover, and then flew up to Kiruna. So another short flight up north. And Kiruna was where we then spent the night before the event. So we had to register and drop any of our bags off that would then be taken to the finish line. So anything that we weren't actually using on the trek. So spare clothes, a suitcase, anything.
Teddy.
Yeah, Teddy was in there,
Yeah.
Was then taken and shipped to the finish line. So we had the night there where we got to know everyone a little bit better. We sort of had a few drinks at the bar and got chatting to find out a little bit more about the people that we were going to be doing the event with.
Had a nice meal before going as well. We had a reindeer with a really nice buttery mashed potato and nice. Jus as well. It was good.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. And then the following morning, the actual morning of the event, we all got on a coach that then shipped us to the actual physical start line, which was around a 45-minute drive further away from where we were staying, and then we started the event.
Yeah, I want to kind of paint the picture of when how it was landing into Kiruna. It was kind of just uninterrupted trees for a very long distance. It was quite
really felt like you
spectacular,
were getting out into the wilderness.
It was I've never seen so many trees in one place. It was incredible, and it was a lot of silver birches, which is their national tree, and because of their growth rate, they're actually quite short, just because of their long winters, and then going into summer, it was just quite interesting just to see and just sort of take it all in.
Yeah, very different landscape.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were pretty much, probably the wrong phrase, but handheld all the way through the thing. So when you buy your ticket, you're buying into being kind of looked after all the way through the event.
Yeah.
You're buying into the whole experience.
Yeah.
So it's not just a case of you get a ticket, they tell you your kit list, and then at the start
and
line,
then you've got to rock up at the start line. Yeah.
No, there was a lot more hand holding along the way just to make the event run a lot smoother.
Yeah.
It's incredibly well organised, because you turn up at the start line, you're registered there, you then collect any mandatory kit. So to start the trek, apart from all of your own personal kit that you had to get from that kit list, you also were issued with things like a map of the route, which I've got here for anyone that's viewing on the screen. So you were handed a small map of the route at 1/75,000 scale, your trekking passport, which was just a small booklet with information about the route, so the distances between each stage of the event and anything that might be useful about each of the checkpoints, so whether or not they had a food restock or anything like that.
Right.
But in the back of the trekking passport, you have the opportunity to collect stamps along the route.
Got all your stamps there,
So
Ben.
I've got all my stamps there. So you have to get a stamp from the first checkpoint when you start with the start time, and then each following checkpoint you then get another stamp that then allows you to carry on past that checkpoint. Because if you go beyond a checkpoint without stamping, you've got to go back and get that stamp before they would then stamp it at the next one.
Oh, wow. So if you missed out checkpoint 2 and rocked up at checkpoint 3, they'd send you back.
They'd send you
have
back.
To go back. We actually met a guy who'd walked up the Keb, and he had come down a certain way, which missed out a checkpoint, so he had to obviously walk back to the checkpoint to come to. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess they know that everybody's been through then, don't they?
Yeah.
That helps with just checking that people have actually completed the route. So anyone that's registered on the event, they've got at least a timestamp log of when someone came through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because obviously there's 1,900 people going into the Swedish wilderness. It's more than likely that someone at some point is going to wander off and potentially get lost. You don't want to lose anyone.
No.
So it just adds a little bit more accountability.
Yeah.
So all the checkpoints were manned 24 hours a day. And some of the checkpoints also had some nice surprises when we got there, which was
Yeah,
very
it was
nice.
always a nice treat to have.
Really?
You didn't know they were coming, so you're aiming for the checkpoint, and then you get to the checkpoint. One of them we got given like a really good brownie, which we were
Nice.
totally excited about.
Any jelly babies? Haribo? That would have been my fave.
We actually did we took trail snacks along the way,
Yeah.
so that kept us going. But when you got given, I don't know, fresh brownie, or we had
Nice.
waffles with like jam and cream.
Oh,
Like lingonberry jam with
Yeah.
cream and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
Cup-
really
very
good.
cups of coffee,
welcome.
just
Yeah.
reindeer wraps at different ones.
Yeah.
So there was just little snacks to sort of keep you
reindeer
motivated.
wraps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
reindeer
Like
wraps.
wrapping reindeer.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very
That-
well trained up there.
Yeah, obviously. Get their
There's not a lot
hooves
else to
on the
do.
vinyl.
Yeah.
It's a bit scratchy. Anyway, we digress. Well, we just. I was just going to say that we're talking about kit and trail snacks and stuff. What was your one piece of kit? Lucy, you can go first. What was the one piece of kit that you could not have done without? I don't say something obvious like a tent or your boots, because obviously you can't do it without boots or a tent. Those are like mandatory essential things. But is there something that you took?
God, that's such a hard question.
That's not a hard
Sorry.
question. Bag of jelly babies?
Oh no, my trail snacks did. They were
Yeah.
like a winner. I did take a lot because, unfortunately, I do get hungry. So
Yeah.
it was a case of I'm gonna take
Sugar.
as many as
Just
I
give
can.
me some sugar.
Well, I was because I'd never done this before. I decided to I weighed out all my trail snacks, so I knew exactly what I was having on day one. What was that? I didn't see that.
Is that why your bag was heavier than Ben's? Because you had a kilo of trail
I
snacks.
did have quite a lot.
At least half of the 65 litres was just trail snacks.
So maybe that's the item I couldn't have lived
Yeah.
without.
Well, at least your pack was getting lighter every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Ben? Also, Teddy, what you left in your
Yeah,
bag.
I left them behind. Yeah. I mean, snacks is a very important one.
Yeah.
Just take more snacks than you think you need, because they can also be used as bargaining chips. Just putting that out there. If you forget something else, or someone else has got something quite nice, you can always do a little
Okay,
swap,
that's clever.
which
Yeah.
came in handy. But for me, honestly, it was a little bit more practical. It was a set of walking poles.
Right. Yeah.
Not that I couldn't have done the trek without them, but they certainly made the experience a lot nicer going for the walk with a decent set of walking poles. Just because some of the terrain that we were covering with a larger pack, it's just a lot more comfortable walking with poles.
Yeah.
I found myself using them some of the time, but not all the time. But they were very useful.
Yeah.
They
Was
were
that,
just
was
a
that
very useful
did,
thing.
were most people using poles? I know it's still not a widely accepted thing, is it?
It's not. A lot of people were using them. I'd say
Yeah.
it was probably about a 60-40 split towards
Right.
the use of poles. So there were more people than weren't. And honestly, it was nice to see a lot of younger people using poles as well, because there's always seems to have been a little bit of a stigma attached to using poles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for the ramblers. That's for the old people that are already got shot knees and ankles.
Young ramblers are available.
But they are.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah.
But it's always the old ones that have got the poles.
Seems to be.
Yeah. But we digress.
I've got poles.
Yeah, walking poles are a fantastic thing to use, and using them on the Classic left me in better nick at the end of each day than I would have been if I hadn't have used them.
Agreed.
So they're definitely beneficial.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it? I think in Europe, walking poles are much more widely accepted. Where in the UK, it's still a little bit of a thing, isn't it? It's almost like a bit of a defeat. I'm giving in, but they make a huge difference, like especially over multi days with a heavier load on.
I can't imagine have done it. Like I can't have imagined doing it without poles.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you talking about it, it's like 100%.
Yeah.
They were,
That's the thing.
mm-hmm.
There you go, people. Walking poles. Use them. All right? So, Ben, if you had the opportunity to do it again, or Lucy, I don't mind, they can answer this.
Okay.
Would you do it differently? Would you take less trail snacks, Lucy?
Probably because I didn't need as many as I thought. But I guess,
you weren't
I guess
trying.
it's better to have too much than too less.
Always.
I would have taken a towel because I didn't take a towel with me. I put that in like my end of bag, like for the end of it. I thought I don't need it.
Right.
I kind of wish I'd taken because I had the Royal Robins like quick dry like underwear,
Yeah.
and I wish I'd had a spare upper because the guys went swimming and I was like not so sure because I only had one.
Right.
But it would have been like nice to have gone for a swim.
Yeah.
Just because cold water therapy, and
Yeah,
it would have
absolutely,
just been
yeah.
like really
And
refreshing.
Cleaning, maybe,
Yeah.
just washing off some of that
Yeah.
sweat and body
Yeah.
odour. I don't know.
Yeah, when you have to like rely on wilderness wipes, it's
Yeah.
a bit different. But I don't know. No, I don't. Other than that, they're the only things I would have done differently, I think. How about you, Ben?
Where you been?
I think the only thing I would have done is possibly taken a few more luxuries, just
Really?
like Teddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so someone else in our group had a Primus Lite Plus again, but they'd bought the coffee press for it,
Oh,
and they
nice.
also bought lots of ground coffee with them that they were happy to share, which was very generous of them.
So this is
Yeah.
where
That's-
you're
that's where
swapping,
the
swapping
snack
the
comes
trails.
into play.
Okay, I'll swap
Yeah.
your jelly baby for an
Yeah.
espresso.
Starting to
Yeah.
figure it out now.
Yeah.
But just stopping and sitting just at the side of the trail in stunning scenery,
Yeah.
having a freshly brewed cup of coffee,
Yeah.
made a surprising difference. You know, it was just a really nice little boost to sit down and just stop and watch the world go
and
by
for
for
a
a
few
little
bit.
for a few $100 grams.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
It's
it'd totally
absolutely
be worth
it,
it.
One of
isn't
those
it?
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were lucky enough that we had people that were generous enough to share.
Yeah.
But if I was to do it again, I'd probably take my own just in case they weren't there to share,
Yeah.
and then I'd happily share that. But apart from that, I
Happily
was
sell your coffee.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
When
it's
you say
completely
share, you mean
transactional.
you mean sell.
Yeah. What have you got that can benefit me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I end up coming back with a new Gore shell for a cup of coffee. And,
Yeah.
but no, honestly, most of, if not all of the kit that I took, I used, or it was compulsory safety equipment. So I was very happy with what I packed. There wasn't anything that I look back at and think I really didn't need that. The only things that I took that I didn't use were the mandatory equipment, like the compass, because everything was so well waymarked.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
really have to
Didn't
navigate
need
for the
it.
trip.
No.
No.
So it was a compass. There were a few other safety bits, and the water filter, which was just a more of a peace of mind thing.
Yeah.
But everything else I took, I used and made use of. So I'm pretty happy with what I packed.
Cool.
Also probably helps that I packed and repacked my bag 3 or 4 times because I'm a little bit obsessive like that.
Yeah. Well, we always used to say, didn't we, to people who were going on these kind of trips, just thinking back to my days in the shop, get out everything that you think you want to take and then get rid of half of it.
Yep.
And then have another look at it and then get rid of some more, and what you're left with,
Yeah.
you take. And obviously when you've got a mandatory list that you have to take, kind of reminds me of the old D&V days, isn't it? It's like, no, you will not enjoy this hike. You've got to carry 400 tons of kit in an 80-litre rucksack. But when you've got a mandatory list, there are things you've got to take. But you can even make those lighter, can't you? There are choices around
Yeah.
Oh,
those
absolutely.
bits of
Definitely.
kit. You know, like you were saying, Lucy, you chose a really lightweight tent,
Yeah.
you know, but you could have not.
Yeah. You
You
can
know, so there are choices that you can make along there to make your life easier and more comfortable.
Yeah, like in case, like with weather and stuff, we took both really good jackets, like
Yeah,
in case it rained, because
yeah,
we
You don't wanna get wet?
previous guy.
yeah.
No.
So full set of waterproofs, I guess that's mandatory on the mandatory list,
Yes.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Gaiters.
Gaiters weren't mandatory.
Right.
A lot of people did take them and use them. I personally didn't.
Right.
I didn't feel the need for them apart from possibly on the last day. If the weather had been like it was on the last day on some of the previous days, gaiters probably would have been something that would have been useful.
Yeah.
But got by just fine just with the set of Keb trousers I was wearing. You know, did make sure to give them a thorough waxing along the bottom cuffs,
yeah.
just to sort of double down on that. So you effectively get, it's not as protective as a normal pair of gaiters, but it certainly helped with keeping the bottoms of my trousers dry.
Yeah,
that
stop your
capillary
socks getting
action,
soggy
just
and
stopping
getting
them getting
boots.
soggy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we kind of touched on this earlier, didn't we, Lucy? When you talked about swimming.
Yeah.
We're about kind of personal hygiene. Did you wash, apart from the swimming?
I did. I used
Ish.
I'd use wilderness wipes,
Right.
but you went for a dip on the one morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything like this where you're on a multi-day hike, you just kind of have to accept that
Yeah.
you're going to get a little bit stinky.
Bit whiffy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just going to happen, but everyone else in the same boat.
Yeah.
You can cut down on some of that with using things like merino wool or something
Yeah.
with a polygene treatment, something that's got an antimicrobial nature to it, whether that be natural with merino wool or something like polygene that helps cut down on some of the bacteria. But across the trip, yeah, wilderness wipes, I had a pack of, I was using occasionally, but also just washing in streams and going for a swim.
But you'd have had to take those back out with you. You
Yes.
couldn't leave
No.
them. Yeah. So
That was very much part of the whole ethos of the trip, was the leave no trace.
yeah.
And there was actually an incentive to carry out as much waste as you could, which is actually, for anyone that's watching the video stream, what the water filter bottle here is at the front there. This one's actually Lucy's.
Yep.
But you could collect all of your trash, so anything that you use, whether that be wilderness wipes, food packets, and anything else that you had that was rubbish that you couldn't leave behind, you collected in a trash bag that was provided you at the start of the trek. And then if you had at least 600 grams when it was weighed at the end of the trip, you would win a prize. If you had less than 600 grams, the prize would be different, but the big prize was a Grail water filter that's branded with Fjallraven Classic on the front, which was actually quite a nice prize for just doing what you should do by taking rubbish out. I think it was just just an arbitrary number that they came up with. That was
number of empty food packets plus a bit of toothpaste tube and some wet wipes.
I think it was just enough that made it feel competitive to be able to carry that much waste. Because if they'd said it was 200 grams, then everyone would have done it, and they'd be handing out an awful lot of water filters. But it was definitely incentive to carry out your waste for some people that otherwise might not have. We're obviously very, very conscious of our impact on the environment, and we want to make sure that we're limiting any damage that we do. So we were carrying out our waste anyway, but some other people don't seem to have quite the same level of respect for the environment, so they need an incentive. So if you're quite clever that way in gamifying it a little bit. God, there's a modern vernacular. Gamifying your rubbish. But I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say it, but the obvious question that springs to mind here, Ben, is what about the stuff that you can't take out with you? The waste that you create.
Okay.
What did you do with that, Ben?
I did have to leave that behind.
You did leave that behind.
I did leave
you didn't
that
have to bag that up and bring it with you.
No. So
not like some kind of special forces thing.
So not quite.
No.
So along the route, anywhere that there were any of those huts, any of the hostel type things, they generally had long drop toilets, which were open and accessible. So if you could hold on until you got to a checkpoint, you could use the long drops. And at the start of the trek, you were provided one roll of toilet paper. So just one roll of toilet paper, and that's what you take. But a lot of the long drops on the way were also supplied with it.
Right.
And they encouraged you to use those wherever possible. But if you couldn't, hold on. And there were a few occasions where I did have to take a poo with a view.
As one does.
As one does. After that cup of coffee, it kicked in.
Yeah.
The intention was to go off the trail and basically dig a hole.
Bury it.
Bury it.
Yeah, classic method.
Yeah, classic method. It's all biodegradable as long as you're using the toilet paper that they provided. You can bury that as well.
Right.
But they did say in certain places along the route, so the national park at the end.
Yeah.
So in Abisko National Park, you weren't allowed to dig holes or damage the environment there because it's a protected part of northern Sweden. So you either had to put it under a rock and then carry out your toilet paper or carry out all of your waste at that point. So it was very much cross legs through the national park.
Just get your timings right.
Yeah.
No coffee the day before or that morning, and then run through Abisko National Park. Yeah. Yeah. So is a trowel on the mandatory kit list?
It's not on the mandatory kit list, I don't think.
Is it not?
That surprises me. I would have thought.
Check. I'm going to
flick through, Ben.
Let's see. No, it is not on the mandatory kit list.
Oh, well, there you go. Did you take one?
I did.
Yeah.
I took a small titanium trowel with me.
Nice. Titanium. Nice.
Titanium.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a nice little one that would suffice. Where possible, we want to make sure you use those long drops because it is just a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then all of that waste then gets flown out by helicopter, I think, because
nice.
it's the only way that it's accessible because there's no road access at all.
Right.
But if you had to, a trowel or a shovel was definitely worthwhile.
Okay, so there you go. There's a top tip. If you're going to go and do the Fjallraven Classic, take a trowel. So we've, I think we've covered the kit thing pretty fully, haven't we? We've gone through, you wore some sturdy boots, you had some nice trousers on. Ben, you wore some Keb trousers.
Yeah.
Good bits of base layers, merinos, and some Royal Robin stuff. Yep. Now, all this stuff isn't free, is it?
No.
You're not given all this stuff. So I guess you used a
No.
lot of your own personal stuff. You didn't have to sort of kit up before you went, or was there anything specific that you bought before, for the trip?
Yeah, I had to buy quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like base layers, I had mountain equipment, and I had hag lofts, and one was slightly lighter than the other.
Right.
I borrowed a bit of kit, like the tent I borrowed, sleeping bag I borrowed, sleeping mat I borrowed, which I was really lucky to do that because that meant that would have been additional costs. And it was just, again, little things like underwear, like breathable underwear, which is a massive game changer.
Absolutely.
And learned from that. And
no cotton shreddies out on the trail. No.
Trying to think. Boots. So I had my boots fit just before like leaving as well.
Right. So you kind of your Joe average hill walker, hiker, rambler is generally going to have the right amount of kit, the right kind of stuff without having to fork out a huge amount to go on the trip. Obviously, tent, sleeping bag, sleep mat, some things some people might not have.
Yeah.
What about any other associated costs? I mean, was it an expensive thing? Did you have to pay to enter? I mean, we didn't talk about that, did we? We talked about getting a ticket, but have you got to pay for the ticket?
So we were very, very fortunate, and we have to send out thanks to both Fjallraven and Phoenix UK for arranging this on our behalf. But we actually had the trip paid for us for this, which was fantastic, and it's an experience that we're incredibly grateful for.
Agreed.
But to take part in the Classic as a member of the general public, you would have to buy a ticket,
right?
And also arrange your own transport over to Sweden to the start line, and then from every point then on, got a frog in my throat. But from that point on, you then have everything arranged for you. So as soon as you hit the start line, any transfers at the start line, where you register to the actual physical start line where you start the walk, and then transport back from the finish line to the starting point again, is all covered as part of your ticket. Any food is also then included in the ticket price.
Okay,
gas.
so all that food that's given out at the checkpoints, that's all included.
That's all included in the ticket price. So everything, as soon as you arrive at the check-in point at the start, everything from that point on is included in that ticket price.
So you got to buy your ticket.
Yep.
How much is the ticket?
It's about roughly, off the top of my head, about £200.
Okay, right, and then you've got to get your flights to Sweden.
Got to get your flights to Sweden, at which point there's no direct flights to Kiruna, which would be the closest airport to the start line. So you can either fly to Arlanda, Stockholm, and then get a connecting flight like we did up to Kiruna, or there is an overnight train as well, and other transport as well. But most people elected to do the connecting flight because it was a much quicker way of getting there, rather than a full day of train travel from Stockholm up. Or other people also came in via Norway as well.
Right.
So some people flew in because at that point in northern Sweden, Norway is actually really close next door. So you can fly further up into Norway and then get a connecting bus, or I'm not sure whether there's a train across, but you can definitely get public transport from there
to Kiruna
to the start line.
Okay. And so would you have to connect from the airport of Kiruna? Would you have to then get another transport onto the start?
You get a bus. So from the airport, we were taken into the village where we had the overnight stay, and we stayed in like chalets and had tea, etc. And then the next day, you get a bus, which is 45 minutes into Nicolota. Is that how I say it?
Nicolota, I think.
Nicolota.
Sorry, excuse me for saying that wrong.
Any Swedish listeners will
we
probably be cringing right now. We do apologise.
Correct me, sorry. And it's about 45 minutes into the start line, and then you finish. You end at Abisko National Park.
So what would you reckon if people weren't quite as fortunate as you guys and had to pay for the whole trip? What do you reckon the overall cost would be? Do you know what the flight costs are?
I don't know the flight cost, I'm afraid. No.
Realistically, you'd probably be looking all in around depending on when you book the flights, because flights obviously fluctuate a lot. With the tickets for the event, excluding any outdoor equipment you might need to buy, so literally just to take part in the event, probably around the £700 to £800 mark.
Which actually is really good value
is.
for what potentially could be a 10-day
Yeah,
hiking
expedition.
holiday.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could see it as that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Well,
We-
realistically, you're
Yeah.
losing any and all costs that you would have paid for accommodation on a normal holiday
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're sleeping in a tent.
Yeah.
So you're just factoring that into the transport and travel to get up there.
Yeah.
And then all of the food and everything for the event is included in the original ticket price.
Yeah.
So it's actually comparable to sort of most average week-long 10-day holidays to other parts of Europe.
Mm.
You know, unless you're doing it on a real budget, that's sort of a fairly average price. So it's not unheard of to be able to go and do that instead of going on a holiday to southern Italy or something.
No,
like that.
absolutely, yeah. And like you say, you're getting to take part in a really well organised and controlled event that you're going to feel safe in, but then you're still experiencing this great wilderness adventure, seeing a fabulous part of the world, and meeting some great people. I mean, what's not to like? It sounds like excellent value for money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
It really is a fantastic event to go and take part of. And it's an event that if I hadn't been provided with a ticket for, I would have genuinely happily paid for based on the experience I've had, because it was fantastic.
So you go and do it again, would you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, so what would be your one piece of advice for somebody who was thinking about whether they should do it or not?
Go for it.
Just go for it.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Just go and do it.
Yeah. It's priceless experience. It's something that you'll carry for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Fabulous. Right. Well, thank you both for illuminating us on the Fjallraven Classic. It's been really interesting. I'm very jealous that I've never had the opportunity to go and do it. And now I'm a bit old and knackered. Don't think I could now, to be honest.
Oh, you'd be fine, Paul.
Yeah, I
Yeah?
reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, just share a tent with someone. Let's just get them to carry it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
actually,
because you can share a tent.
Yeah,
so
you could do that. You could do it as a couple, couldn't you?
Yeah, you can do it as a couple.
Yeah.
So you can just got to find someone that you can go with to
my poor old
carry
feet,
the weight.
Ben. My poor old feet.
Give you a piggyback.
Yeah. Ben. There we go. That's me set up. So we got some questions sent in by our lovely viewing, listening public. I think we've covered a couple of these, but I'll read them out anyway because Harry's taken the trouble to print them off. He's even written one. Did you write that, Harry?
Is that a question from you, Harry?
No.
No.
He's actually written it in pen.
I didn't think he was allowed pens.
I don't know he's allowed pens either. Anyway, so Janine Harris asks, what piece of equipment proved invaluable on your trip and you would never leave home without on future adventures?
Ooh.
We kind of touched on this a bit earlier, didn't we?
We did.
We mentioned
in
walking
terms of
poles,
sort of favourite bits of kit, things like that.
titanium trowel.
Yeah, the trowel probably was quite a key one for me, just in case of emergency.
Yeah.
But honestly, a lot of the mandatory kit that was on that list is the sort of things that you would be taking anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. They're not asking you to take anything stupid, are they? It's all there for a reason.
Yeah.
Comfy shoes at the end of the day, I would say like sliders or Crocs or something that you can put your feet into.
Other comfy shoes are available.
It just makes such a difference
And
at the end of the day. Yeah. But comfy shoes at the end, I think.
Yeah. No, that's a good tip, actually. Yeah. Take your boots off.
Yeah, just let your
Slip
feet
your feet
breathe.
into some preformed
Even when you're out
rubbery
hiking.
things. Yeah.
Like along your trail, just when you're resting, if you want, just take your shoes off and let your feet breathe for a bit.
That's a good call. Terry Weaver, I don't know whether that's his profession or whether that's his surname. How difficult was the process to get selected for the Fjallraven Classic? What did it entail? Forms, permits, emails, carrier pigeons? I don't know. How difficult was it? Oh, for you guys, it was easy.
For us, it was easy.
You were invited.
We were sent an email asking if we'd like to take part.
And
we
you
said
said
yes.
Yeah.
But no, as we touched on earlier, a lot of it comes down to you buy a ticket.
Yeah.
You buy a ticket.
It's only
you
the
buy a
owner.
ticket through the website.
Yeah.
And then there are a bunch of forms that you've got to fill out for safety reasons, so that you have like an emergency contact and any medical issues that you may have, so that the organisers are aware.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of it is all pretty standard forms for taking part in an event. There are some questions on the form that you've got to fill in. They're a little bit more specific to the Classic. So main one being, have you taken part in a Classic before?
Right.
And have you done any others anywhere else? Because depending on whether you've done a Classic before or not, part of the whole thing with the Classic is at the end of it, you get a little welcome pack effectively for finishing. So I've bought them here for anyone that's on screen, but you get a finisher's medal.
Oh, that's nice.
I did decide not to wear it on
Oh, no, I think you should,
on
Ben.
camera. But you get a finisher's medal. This one is for finishing the Swedish Classic in 2022. You get a patch as well, which can be put onto a rucksack, a jacket, anything like that. And the colour of this patch and the medal, as well as the little pin badge that you also get, will change depending on whether you've done the Swedish Classic before.
Okay.
So if you're a first-time completer, second-time, third,
Okay.
the colours change, effectively going from sort of white to bronze, silver, gold kind of thing. Not quite that exact,
Yeah.
but they change colour so that people can identify how many you've done and what year you've done it. Or if you've done other Classic events, say you've done the Denmark one or the Korean one, you get a different patch. And your aim is to try and complete all of the Classics, as a bit of a completionist thing.
Yeah.
But that's one of the more specific questions you'll be asked. Other than that, it's all general, just safety
Can
things.
you walk?
Who you are,
Can you
where do you
breathe?
live,
Yeah.
are you physically fit and able to do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. So there's no preference given to somebody who's done it before?
No. No preference to them at all. It is completely open to buy tickets, same as if you were sort of going to a concert
Right.
or any other
First
event.
come, first serve, basically,
Yeah.
until the tickets have run out.
Yeah.
And then I guess you just got a little bit organised with making sure you get to the muster point, should we call it that,
Yep.
at the designated date and time.
Yep.
So you just organise your own flights and your transport to get you there. Pretty
Yes.
straightforward, really. Pretty straightforward. All right. Theo M., what did you see along the way that you'd most like to revisit?
Ooh.
Yeah, I know it's a hard.
So there was an
There's
awful
a
lot over there that was just incredibly stunning. You'll hopefully see some of the pictures and videos that we took along the route to kind of give you an idea of what the scenery was like. For me, I would love to go back and climb Keb.
Yeah.
I'd like to go and do Keb.
So Keb's just not a pair of trousers or a rucksack. It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's
a
mountain.
It's a
Yeah.
mountain.
It's a
mountain.
Yeah, it's funny. You'll find with a lot of Fjallraven products that they're named after a lot of things in Sweden.
Funny that.
Who'd have known?
Who'd have thought?
But Keb for me was a really, really big one that I'd like to go back and do, because there are a few different routes that you can do up Kebnekaise. There's the walking route, which is a little bit longer, and then there's an alternative route that does require some technical kit. There's a short section of climbing to get up to it, so it is a little bit more technical, but look quite fun.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
Sounds really good.
More like
Just-
scrambling type thing.
a little bit of scrambling, but also
Yeah.
there are sections where you do require a little bit more protection. So full on climbing there, I think they were possibly putting a short section of something via ferrata like into it to make it a little bit more accessible. But Keb for me would be the one.
What about you, Lucy?
So I go back to like our second night, like campsite. I felt like that was pretty epic. It was like we were sort of like in the mountains, not far. It was between walking to Keb and it was between Singy and Solka. Yeah. And we had like reindeer like
fabulous.
around by us, and like either side like mountains. It was just I can just like it's just like
Yeah,
there in
just
my
one of those
memory.
images that's
Yeah, you know,
burned
and you're
into your
like, oh my
mind.
god, that would be amazing just to go back to. And just seeing like I guess semi reindeer sort of like just running around. It was quite something.
Yeah, awesome, fabulous. All right, PDX Eric, I recognise that name, Harry. He's our regular. Hello, Eric. Does Fjallraven provide the kit?
wouldn't
Not
say
specifically
so,
to us.
No.
No, for the event, as we've already mentioned, they provide food and
Yeah.
gas, man the checkpoints, things like that. But in terms of actually completing the event, you are obligated to supply your own kit.
Personal kit,
Yeah.
clothing.
Yeah.
You got to have your own.
Yeah,
But there's things that you can buy that, you know, like there was like the travel mugs that have the Fjallraven Classic on that
Right.
people will buy because it says that, or
Yeah.
you could buy a hoodie. I don't know what it was. There's a name for it.
it was one of the Greenland hoodies.
Yeah, and then that had like it had the patch on the side and.
Oh no, sorry, that one wasn't the
Yeah.
Greenland. That was a Keb hoodie.
Okay,
Oh, they're
yeah.
nice, the Keb
They're very
hoodies.
nice.
I've
Yeah.
got a Keb hoodie. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, sorry, Eric, you don't get a load of free kit. You get the opportunity to buy some Fjallraven Classic branded merchandise. which is nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, you've got to take your own kit, Eric. Sorry, mate. Okay, Ralph, last one. You'd be pleased to hear. Or not, maybe. I don't know. Did you both feel under or over prepared, kit-wise, for the weather?
I would say no. I felt quite confident in what we had. Like I used everything in my pack. I used my rain jacket on the last day. I probably had my trousers on for like 10 minutes and then they came off because it was too hot.
Over trousers we're talking
Yeah,
about, I
over
hope.
trousers,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
And
yeah.
it wasn't,
Yeah.
I think because it was the last day, it was like, we're going to the finish line, so it's fine.
I guess the mandatory kit list is going to make sure that you've got everything that you need so you're not... I mean, I guess you could be over-prepared, couldn't you? You could just take like a massive down jacket or something you're just never going to use.
No, there were certainly some people there that did take that approach, because there were people with Kaika 75s, Kaika 100s that were full, and we sort of had questions about what kit they were taking.
Why?
Yeah.
And just generally why. But yeah, I think we both packed our kit quite well. I certainly used everything, apart from my shell trousers, actually, because on the last day, I just hit the point of, well, we're going somewhere warm and dry at the finish line.
Yeah. How bad can it be?
How bad can it be?
Yeah.
And then it turned into sort of an 8K tab to the finish, because a few of us broke off ahead and finished a little bit quicker because we're like, you know what?
To paint the picture, it was like along the pathways there was that much rain that the pathways were like basically becoming big puddles.
Oh, right.
And I've seen videos of you just stomping through these through the puddles.
I want to finish now.
Whereas my sort of way of doing it was going round them, not through them.
Well, we'd hit the point where we were already wet,
Yeah.
but we knew we had warm, dry clothes 8K away from us, so just go for it.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, you two. It's been brilliant, actually. I really enjoyed talking about it. Sounds like an amazing thing. And if my poor old feet can put up with it, I think I will attempt to go and do it. It's been very inspiring, and I hope all you listeners out there have enjoyed it too. So I'm just going to sign off by saying thanks to Ben, thanks to Lucy. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah.
You did mention videos and photos of the event. Where can people look at those? I'd like to go and have a look at them. Where are they?
So there's a blog that's just come out currently.
Okay.
So there's links to on our Instagram, Facebook at the moment. It will be also it's on our website as well.
Right.
And there will be a video coming towards the end of November.
Okay.
So watch this space.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
No pressure, Harry. Get those editing fingers ready. There they are, look. All 7 of them. So, on that note, Harry's 7 fingers. We're going to sign off. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks again to Ben and Lucy. And if you have any comments or questions, you know what to do. You know where to post them. We always like to hear from you guys. But, thanks very much for listening. We'll see you all again soon. Thanks a lot. Toodaloo.